I'm just a gift to the women of this world. I'm just a gift to the women of this world.
Whenever the fuck we want to actually start this.
All right. Welcome to Music Sucks and I Want to Die, special clickbait edition.
That's right. We're going to title this video something extra special douchey.
Like, Adam Neely is racist.
Adam Neely is an idiot.
Well, that's just...
Yeah, that's actually just true.
No.
Yeah, no, that's not actually true. Basically, what we're going to be doing today is going over Adam Neely's most recent video, Music Theory and White Supremacy, formerly known as Music Theory is Racist.
I really want to know about the change.
I'm pretty sure it's just flack related. He was getting a bunch of flack and he's like, why should I call it that, you know?
Yeah.
There's no reason to.
I wish he would have, like, balled up and done it, though.
Yeah,
man.
I know. I know. So, yeah, we're going to be going over this video that Adam Neely put out the other day and talk about it, why it works, and some reasons why it doesn't. For me and personally, I found there was a lot of good stuff in this video, but also just a couple little annoying Adam Neely things that kind of ruined the whole thing for me.
That man does really annoy me.
Yeah.
I think that's my biggest takeaway with the video is how obnoxious I find Adam Neely.
Yeah, and one of my takeaways I have written down up here is that the person he's interviewing for the majority of this video, Phil Ewell.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he's by far better at speaking than Adam Neely is. He comes across much more clearly, more concise, and in general, it's just much more pleasing to listen to him for me
I would agree.
than it is for Adam Neely.
Also, for our listeners at home who aren't watching us on YouTube, I know that Jake and I both decided to dress entirely in black for this episode.
Oh my god, I didn't notice that.
Because we are not white supremacists.
Wow. I'm glad we went there. Okay, so basically what we're going to be doing in this video is going over section by section Adam Neely's giant 45-minute video. He split it up into 7 sections. We're going to do the same. But first I'd like to just get like the general takeaways we had from this video.
Well, first time I watched it, I watched 3 minutes of it.
Same.
And turned it off because it was really obnoxious.
Yeah.
Then watched it again, and I was like getting progressively drunker as I watched it. And it really annoyed me a lot more that time.
Okay.
And then I watched it one more time today.
Nice and sober.
More or less.
Yeah.
And it was, in a way, the best experience because I was like, oh, yeah, there's some good shit in here. And also, I was like, oh, God, I can't believe I'm watching this video again. I want to kill myself. So that's,
Your takeaway?
that's my take.
All right. I have a few takeaways myself. I only watched this video 1.05 times. The 0.05 being the time I watched it for 2 minutes and turned it off because the intro is very condescending and annoying, which we'll get to.
Yep.
But the time I watched it all the way through, I thought there was just a lot of, pretty good stuff in there, a lot of good points. And the whole video could be summed up a lot faster than it was.
It really feels like 2 or 3 different videos.
Yeah, well, 2 or 3 starts to videos and one coherent idea that could have been explained in a third of the time completely.
Yes. I think actually on second viewing, the structure made more sense to me. But still, I didn't think it was very good.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it is partly, his video is clickbaity for reasons I'll get into later. And for that reason, you probably have to have a longer video and explain a whole bunch of different concepts and try to label it under one umbrella as much as you can.
I see, Jake. It's like a composition. You have to have the foreground and the background. And really, it comes down to 3 Blind Mice.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna go there already. Dude, that's part like 5 or some shit. We gotta wait. You can calm yourself. Okay. So, should we just get into it?
Yep, intro.
Introduction.
Let's see. I wrote the harmonic style of 18th century European musicians.
Yeah, I quoted that. That's my first quote on my notes. So, it's really fucking annoying. There is a smaller term for that. It's called the common practice period.
Well, he's making a point, though.
I know.
It doesn't have 18th century and white in it if
That's
you
true.
say that.
That's true. So, I get it, and it's just like this really long sentence. And also, it's partly comedic, I guess.
Yeah, I'm laughing.
Yeah, it was really funny to hear him say that every 3 seconds. I guess that is probably funny to some people. So I can't
People who
really...
watch Adam Neely.
Yeah. If Adam Neely thinks it's funny, then I guess it's not a big deal. I don't really care. But the point is, just say the common practice period, you douche.
I mean, I'm fine with it. It's just like how many times he did it.
Yeah.
And,
and throughout the rest of the video, too.
I'm like,
I know.
I'm gonna kill myself because we're really funny, like obviously. So
Yeah,
you won't catch us saying stupid things like that repeatedly.
Digital setup. No. So this introduction is just really irritating and very. This is where like the condescension kind of starts from Adam Neely that he'll continue throughout the video. I think, where he talks down about people like asking questions. I mean, so do we, I guess. But it just comes across as really annoying for a video that's supposed to be quite educational.
Yes, I mean, we can probably talk about this more at the end, but just YouTube in general, being a music YouTuber, that kind of thing is just killing me.
Yeah,
fucking killing me.
This is the attitude you have to have in order to be successful and in order to get it fans or following is very annoying. I'm totally feeling you.
I mean, maybe he should take some lessons from us because I feel like we got like 7 subscribers.
I think we have 8.
And he's got, what, like 1 million?
Yeah, like, 1.12. What up, dude?
He's got a lot to learn.
That's right. We are the pinnacle of shitty YouTube. So, yeah, the attitude you have to YouTube is part of the reason why this 18th century European musicians thing is repeated so many times. It's like he's trying to make it become a meme at the same time, which is not a bad strategy either.
Yeah.
I don't hate on him for his hustle.
No, he's... more successful than we will ever be, I'm sure.
Yeah, at least on YouTube. So,
oh man, I do think in the intro he sort of stated 2 points, which I think are of like the 3 or 4 different points. So that make up this video.
Yeah,
he stated the 2 in the intro that I agree with the most. I think.
Okay.
Well, at least one of them. First point when he brings up sort of like the AP test and how it's all, Yeah. 18th century.
Terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, AP in general being very, like, Eurocentric and Western, like...
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Like, just in, like, any subject, too. Like, I remember in high school, AP history was, like, America.
Oh, yeah. And AP Lit would be, like, James Joyce, or, like, very American-centric. Or
James Joyce, Irish.
Yeah, very Eurocentric was the next word out of my mouth. Thank you.
Jake doesn't know shit.
Yeah.
He failed AP.
As if they had AP where I grew up.
Well, it's interesting because my small-ass hippie town had IB, which was the international equivalent to AP.
Still very Eurocentric, I bet.
You'd be surprised, actually.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Eugene, Oregon showing up.
More Eurocentric than other places, or other countries. But still, actually, like, I learned a lot in that. But yeah, AP in general just is kind of racist and shitty.
Yeah.
And then the other point, the one that I think is the strongest in this video, is that this concept of music theory that we have is totally not useful at all.
That is exactly the entire thing I agree with about this video, is that the terminology for music theory in general is so ancient, outdated, and shitty, represents no portion of popular music today, or actually pretty much any music. And this is actually a quote he gets into later on, but like music theory as it's put in, academia and such is 0.1% of music or less, and is attempting to describe 100% of music. And it's pretty embarrassing, and terms haven't evolved since then, at least, in the academic fields. So that's, I guess, the thing I agree with him the most about as well.
I think so, yeah.
And it could use a change, big time. And it's maybe Adam Neely's video will start it. Who knows?
Well, I have something to say about that, but we'll get into that.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, different vocabularies are required for different styles of music, obviously. No one actually thinks that common practice period theory can analyze EDM. No one actually thinks that.
Yes.
The people that post on r/guitar... like,
hey, now those are my brethren.
yeah. So people who post on r/guitar are dumb that want to do this. It's like, does Deadmau5 use music theory?
Yes.
And it's like, no.
I mean, I think I've probably talked about this before, but like that question will come up a lot online, especially guitarists. And they'll be like, music theory is useless to me. I don't want to learn how to read notes. And it's like. It's a term that no one really, I mean, I guess there isn't technically a definition for it, which is his point in the opening, but like, it's not a term anyone really understands.
Yeah.
And
it might be good to codify it more strictly
in a white way.
And wow, well, that's already what's happening.
Oh, my bad. I'm
Go take
back in the 18th century.
Go take your ethnocentrism somewhere else. So, I think that's pretty much it for the intro.
Yes.
Part 1, the white racial frame of music theory. This is where Phil Ewell comes in, and he is by far, again, the best part of this video. He speaks everything seems to come off as having a giant fountain of knowledge.
He's funny.
He's funny.
Charming, yeah.
Yeah, he's cool. And it's fucking... As soon as the first thing I wrote down in part 1 is that figured bass is stupid.
So this is like my question, and this is where I'm not knowledgeable because I never took like a classical theory course.
Okay.
At Cornish we had jazz theory, classical theory. So I don't really know what gets taught in the classical theory. Like I picked up a bunch of shit and like learned on my own, but that's not like I'm going to learn classical theory. I'm going to look at a specific thing. Not once was I like I'm going to look at figured bass.
So in the classical theory department, because I took the classical theory, the whole semester was theory 3 was dedicated to counterpoint.
Right.
And but the fourth semester was a lot of just kind of more advanced tonal harmony.
Sure.
And like the start of serialism, 20th century atonality, set theory, things like that.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah, nothing like, crazy.
Right. Well, he makes a good point where he's like, you wouldn't learn archaic Spanish in your Spanish class.
Yeah.
But I just don't know how often figured bass is taught, actually.
So there was a brief section on figured bass during this theory class, and it was by far the most boring thing in the world, and completely useless to me personally, because I will never play Baroque music.
Sure.
At least with a group. And basically, figured bass is an outdated way of saying you should be playing these notes. I would prefer chord symbols with slashes, and like this whole jazz slash notation or chord notation, is so much better than figured bass in every conceivable way.
I agree. I guess, that's just my question. Like, I understand it's like useless. But I guess people can let me know. Like, is that actually taught? I know, like, he brought up his textbooks, but like, who knows?
That's actually the biggest point for me is like him bringing up these textbooks and like these random theory professors from Texas throughout the video is really annoying to me because it does not really represent anyone.
No, I mean,
strictly speaking,
I don't think I know in my collection I have like all sorts of different sort of music theory textbooks, and like a lot of them are not written by white men or don't like talk about that.
And he does mention one later. That we'll talk about when we get there. But I have a pretty large collection of music textbooks as well, and a lot of them are,
not 18th century European.
Yes, they're 18th century European white people. So it is annoying to have like everything be kind of thrown under the bus here, I guess, under the same basket.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't know. I mean, I only have my own experience at Cornish, and obviously we did jazz theory, and that's had nothing really to do with any of the stuff he brings up.
No, and that was interesting. Like jazz theory, although it was taught by a white person when we were there, is deeply rooted in a lot of people that are not white, as it turns out.
I don't get it.
Yeah. So, like, people like Monk or Davis or, like, any of those people.
Right.
I've never called Davis or Miles Davis just Davis before.
Fuck it.
You heard it here first.
Right, and I think it's a point that he doesn't, like, bring up, and I think this is more accurate to what today is like, is it's just this continuation of these things in the past. Like, we know those, like, Davis went to Juilliard and, like, studied that, and he actually just read a little clip or interview with him from his book where he was talking about how even as a after college and stuff, he would still be going to library and getting scores, and like analyzing them and stuff.
Totally, he knew a lot of shit.
Yeah, and so obviously he created this all new type of music, but obviously that was influenced along with blues and folk and all the other stuff going into that, and like that practice continues today. And I don't know I guess there's some conservatories around the world where you do just sit there and learn about 18th century music and that's it. But is that a thing? Like,
I don't think so.
It might be. I don't know.
Maybe, but like even then, like the people that graduate from these, and he admits this later on in the video, where he's like, for you, people trying to get a graduate degree in music theory, all like tens of you. Yeah. So he admits this is not representative of a musician population, right?
I don't think so. Most, like literally every musician I know, when we talk about like influences, it's all over the place.
Yeah,
like
everyone listens to everything now. It's part of the internet age we live in. It's part of this like increased globalization of music.
Yeah.
And like not a thing. He breaks up really annoying things later. like, he says this 2 to 3 times throughout the video. This will be probably the first time you've heard of this. Each time.
Oh my god, that was so.
I know.
That's the fucking
That's
condescending
the Adam Neely
shit.
condescending.
Ugh.
It's like, and it's like, no, it's not. I've know all this shit for a long time.
It's not even like really obscure shit.
I know.
Like maybe some of like the Indian terms when we'll
Sure,
get to
like
that.
the specific,
but like
ragas, I guess.
Yeah, but like.
The way he says it's really annoying, and he was also wrong each time for me personally, which I guess is just my own frame of reference.
I just feel like a lot of people who watch his videos like study music, so it's like a little confused as
Yeah,
why.
maybe not though.
Maybe
Who knows?
not.
Who knows what his audience actually is?
Yeah, I will say, based on like, if we look at all the popular types of music today, and like even go back to the jazz and R&B and stuff, and like it is all very like triadic harmony based.
Yes.
But I don't necessarily associate that with the 18th century European.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yes, obviously it's a big part of that too, but I don't, essentially, like, yeah, if you're looking at the fucking Deadmau5 song, you don't need to know more than the fact that there's 6 usable chords in a key, and that's literally all you need.
Yeah.
And like that has nothing to do with like Beethoven.
Right, exactly. Triadic harmony does not describe Beethoven's music. It can describe Deadmau5's to a point. Besides the electronic stuff, which I'm going to get into that later. Yeah. Electronic deserves its whole planet of music theory to itself because it's actually really complicated and really annoying. But I want to just talk about one quick last thing about part 1 here, and that is there's this quote that Adam Neely throws in there from Rimsky-Korsakov about how a lot of foundational textbooks of music theory from that time described, like triadic chord things from like whatever from the Baroque era and like lots of Baroque situations. Yeah. And that Rimsky-Korsakov is quoted in that book as saying something along the lines of, this doesn't really describe how music's working anymore.
Yeah.
So Rimsky-Korsakov is fucking awesome, and his books are all awesome. His orchestration book is wonderful. But he's like one of the great authors. Like Schoenberg continues this line of thinking, even though Schoenberg tries to write in that style.
Sure, yeah.
Like him and Rimsky-Korsakov both are on this plane where they're like trying to push things forward 150 years ago, 200 years ago, and 100 years ago. And that's where I thought the part of the video resonated with me more, is that these things were already being moved past linguistically speaking by these composers.
Yes.
And the fact that we're gripping onto them this hard now is annoying.
I agree.
Yeah. And that's why people like even let's try to put this in like a more human terms. You're at a rehearsal and someone's trying to figure out where things are going. Like if they're learning by ear, if they're seeing it on paper, it's like, oh, this is the blah, the blah, the blah. This is the 5 of 5. And then like, you're just like, yeah, but the 5 of 5 is just going to 1. So it's like, why? It's like D7 back to C. It's like, this is just not really how it functions.
Yeah.
It's just a fucking D7. Sometimes a D7
here we go.
is just a D7. And that fact that I chose the letter D is not Freudian at all. And that's all I have for part 2. So part 2 is where he starts getting into the North Indian theory and perspective segment. And I'm really glad that he started throwing a lot of attention to Anuja Kamat because I've been watching her channel for like 6 months.
Oh, have you really?
Yeah. And it's fucking awesome. She's really good. I don't know if you checked her out at all.
Nah, just the clips on that.
Yeah. No, her whole channel's dope. Like she gives lots of great vocal examples and like little Indian giant theory details and all this stuff. And she contrasts it with Western singing quite a bit, and she's really good at both. So it's really cool.
Well, that was actually my question I had on this part because I didn't know her. I mean, that was the first time.
Yeah.
But he brings up the point where it's like, okay, so she's like comparing it to a Western thing. And it's like, but we don't compare our Western stuff to Indian music.
Yeah.
Isn't her channel like directed towards more of a Western audience?
By the fact that she's speaking English, yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So that was I'm like, well, obviously, because that's who she's trying to
appeal to.
Yeah, like if I was teaching Western music theory to a group of Indian people, I would probably bring up Indian music examples to relate.
Yeah,
so.
it just depends on who you're trying to reach.
Yeah.
And that makes me question who Adam Neely's trying to reach by conflating that kind of thing.
I don't know. And honestly, like, it comes together more as it goes, but to me the juxtaposition between the first part and this part is just really
yeah, it's in my notes here. It's like this is borderline non sequitur.
Yeah.
In this video, it's really cool that he's shouting out this lady.
It was probably my favorite part of the whole video, honestly.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, I partially agree. That's just because I've watched her YouTube channel for a long time, and she's awesome. And this whole segment on comparing these two things is cool. And I would like to see more out of that in music theory. Why not? And I guess that's probably his point by doing this. But again, it just comes off as that trademark Adam Neely condescension. You know what I mean? And this, I think, is the first point in this video where he's like, you've probably never even considered this before. And I'm like, you're just fucking wrong, dude. I know a lot of people, myself included, that have delved somewhat deeply into Indian classical music of both the North and South and things like that.
We had a class at Cornish, of all places. Cornish College had an Indian music class.
If you guys need a little reminder, Cornish is possibly the whitest thing ever.
And they just don't offer, like, cool classes usually.
Exactly.
Like,
it's a pretty small school.
It's a small school, and it's like, you got to learn your Western theory or whatever.
Yeah, your 18th century.
Exactly. But yeah, fucking, it was a great class. I learned a lot in that.
Yeah, and it's really cool. So it just comes off as condescending and annoying, and it's the Adam Neely trademark, I guess. That's what you watch him for, maybe?
I mean, he's gotta sell the video, man.
Yeah, so I guess I can't really fault him for that.
But yeah, I wrote like, yeah, I was saying like Cornish, like there's usually like specific classes, and this is actually what I wanted to bring up earlier because he went to Berkeley, and out of curiosity, I like looked up Berkeley's course list earlier today, and there's so many different like styles of like composition and theory classes. They even offer composing for guitar. Okay, so like
in all honesty, guitar is actually a fucking nightmare to write.
There you go, whole fucking class for it. It's all guitar players, you know it.
That's embarrassing.
But yeah, they don't like, you know, I kind of skimmed, but I didn't see anything that was specifically like, they had like tonal harmony, which to me doesn't mean just 18th century, blah, blah, blah. Maybe not. But they had all sorts of different like genres and world music things and practices like that.
I'm sure Berkeley's course work for world music and like other types of theory is very robust.
And it wasn't even just like, here's your world music class. It was literally like, here, you can study North African music or something, you know. Like, I don't know what it was like when he went there, but I'm like, I think this is a thing that happens. I think people are out there, like, it's there if you want to find it, and most people want to find it, especially with how easy it is today with the internet. Yeah,
and you can really delve deep into the music of these other places because of the internet. You can find recordings from 50 years ago in India, and it sounds fucking, like, great. You know, it's totally
it's like that
thing
fucking,
you can do.
You were talking about that one guy from the last episode, the Bulgarian Women's Choir. The
yeah.
KXP guy who was just like... So I discovered you guys and brought you over here.
What the fuck ever? Yeah, fuck KEXP. Yeah, that album was 1975. It kind of just goes along with what we're saying. It's like, it's out there. And people look for it. This is not just, I don't know what population he's talking to when he says this
It's got to be people that we don't know about, like maybe way more academic circles.
Yeah, I guess.
But like I said, like, you know, Cornish is Cornish, and even then it was like...
Yeah. You can,
like we had like a bunch of different
options,
you know,
it's annoying. Let's move on. There's an interesting point in part 2 that I liked a lot, which is where he talked about the I guess a lot of the music we result from hearing from the 17th, 18th, 19th centuries are the results of archiving practices because of the lack of databasing or whatever, you know, computers, blah, 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 blah. But archiving these works was done on a priority of being a male and, you know, being white. And I thought that was something that needed to be explored way more.
That, I would love that. It was the fucking, what's his name too? Dr. Ewell.
Phil Ewell.
Yeah, thank you, Ewell. I mean, he's the one that said that.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah, that would be so cool.
I would love that whole topic. And that's partially, I have it written in my notes a couple times, that Adam Neely's like almost a little bit of a coward.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's not willing to come out and actually tackle this issue. Or maybe it's that he shouldn't, which is another thing.
Yeah, maybe, but he does bring up a lot, or he doesn't bring it up, I guess.
Phil, yeah.
He brings up that, like, these people don't want to look in the mirror and see that, like, oh, I wasted my life studying 18th century, you know? But yeah, I mean, I guess it's his channel. He's hosting. It's more of a
conversation
talk, but then
starter,
you call your fucking video music theories racist. So I don't know.
Well, that's for click.
Yeah, I know.
Because he doesn't, for that title to happen, he doesn't explore it hard enough for me. I would love a scathing ass, like, look into the history of academia and maybe even like conflate, or not conflate, but relate it to Jim Crow practices or things of that nature.
Yeah, it gets huge, but it has to be huge at this point, and that's again why I'm confused as to who is only studying this one subset.
Yeah, dude, who can it be? Like, let's take us, just go through your brain real fast. Let's do this exercise. We're not going to take you long. Let's go through this exercise. Like, you have a bunch of people in your mind that play music in Seattle.
Okay.
Can you go through any of them and just, like, list off the people that only study 18th century European music? Not one, probably.
No. I mean...
And that includes professors at Cornish.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Most of them know a lot of different shit.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, if you're only studying this, then all you do is write music in that style, and like it's already hard enough to be a composer. Who the fuck's like?
Yeah,
are you writing for like
handicapped.
ads or something?
Yeah,
like,
no one's handicapping themselves in that way. I promise.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, yes, like just to make it clear, we're not like denying that the racism of this like exists, but like,
Yeah.
I don't know. This whole video is just a little all over the place for me, I guess.
Yeah.
And there's some good ideas put forth that do not get explored enough. And
Exactly. The whole racism aspect isn't explored nearly enough for me for this title to be justified.
yeah,
But there's a quote here that I wanted to just read real fast because I really liked it. It was from one of those quotes he throws up on the screen, and I didn't write down who it was because I'm an idiot. Reducing music history to a pageant of masters is, at bottom, lazy. We stick with the known in order to avoid the hard work of exploring the unknown.
Alex Ross, one of my
Thank you.
favorite music writers of all time.
Yeah.
The critic for the LA Times.
Yeah.
His book on 20th century music is one of my favorite books on music of all time.
That's on my list to read, dude.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It is. And yeah, you know, he actually the whole first part is very 18th century European based.
Well,
but not really.
It's a pretty, honestly, let's just stop right there. 18th century European music is a pretty big influence on everything we have, even like EDM.
Right.
now.
But I mean, he's starting, with Schoenberg and stuff like that. But
Sure.
as he gets into like the 70s and later, he definitely opens it up a lot more. I mean, it still focuses definitely on, classical music. But he does talk more about like the electronic influences and the jazz and blues and things coming in. And his work, I mean, thus he said that quote, but like, my grandma's awesome, and she'll always like send me articles that he wrote.
Dude, that's awesome, dude.
And like he is like a very big champion for like minorities in the classical music world, and he's constantly like giving insights into their works and things like that. So Alex Ross is the shit. Check him out.
Yeah, that's a great quote, and I really it's one of those things that kind of just hit me. Is like, yeah, man. Yeah, so I want to read that book now.
Yeah,
that
he's
sounds
great.
pretty cool.
Oh, it's so good.
And yeah, I have just one more thing written down for part 2 is that the comparison between Ninge Ninge and the Shuddha Kalyan Rag is like maybe a bit weird to me. It just came across as forced.
It was very forced. I kind of liked it. I mean, like, props to him for finding that.
Sure.
Like, almost the exact same thing
Yeah.
across, like, good job, man.
Yeah,
I would have probably given up trying to do something like that.
But yeah, same. But then he starts going through how, Shuddha Kalyan is an evening wrong and like things of that nature, things that don't really relate to what we're talking
It's
about.
like when you're in high school and you have to like write a paper and you're just really grasping at straws, being like, well, he uses a comma here, and then this author uses
Exactly.
like,
It comes across that way. Like, I don't think that comparison is particularly meaningful, I guess.
No.
I don't really get the illustration he's going for, is that things can be similar across things and can be described 2 different ways.
Yes.
Which is
Well,
good.
because Jake, you've never heard about Indian classical music before.
Oh,
you see.
right, my bad. I
So
forgot.
this is entirely new to you.
That's
you
right.
had no idea that other countries made music.
That's right. That's a quote that pisses me off later. There's a quote from like 2 or 3 sections later that's like, we just ignore every other culture of music ever. And it was like, who? Who are you talking to? Who is he talking to? That's something that comes up all the time. We're going to keep going. Do you have anything with part 2?
No, I think that sums it up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know what time it is.
Part 3.
Alternative perspectives to Western theory. And he starts out. Yeah, go for it.
My first note is Lydian chromatic concept. No.
My first note is George Russell. No. George Russell.
As soon as I'm like, all right, video's over.
Yeah.
Bringing up
I
fucking
actually
George Russell.
I had to pause it for a couple seconds and like just kind of recoup after him mentioning the Lydian chromatic concept.
I will say, like, I really enjoy George Russell's work as a
it's
composer.
cool.
I like
Yeah.
his music a lot, especially his like 70s shit where it gets kind of like weird.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. That book is stupid.
Fucking book just is so funny to me.
That book is so fucking dumb. Dude, it's not dumb.
It's not dumb.
It's cool.
Actually, like, the fact that he sat down and wrote a whole fucking book based on this idea, and I get what he's saying. Like, totally, like, I get his train of thought here. And I admire someone who went out and tried
Absolutely.
to,
I love the fact that this book exists.
But to me, it's just like,
George
Russell.
Why is he being brought up? Because he's black? And so...
Oh, this is... Because then... Oops, I just lost my notes.
Oh, no.
Because he did this. Oh, and then the fucking Barry Harris diminished six concept. To be like the Lydian chromatic and the diminished six and any of these other things, these are ideas you can use, the tools.
Yeah, tools. Well, yeah.
You're not, I guess he could sit down and, I don't remember what the fuck George Russell wrote about, but like he could like analyze like a piece in his chromatic concept.
Yeah, you can go through all backwards.
Yeah, you can do that. Should you? Probably not.
Yeah, what kind of meaning it'll derive is.
But, it's a way to like have new ideas about things and like open up. I mean, the Barry Harris, God.
Barris.
That to me, it's like, is that like, that's not even like a theory. Like, that's just this idea
That's one quick idea.
Yes. And then he's this quote pissed me off.
All right, let's hear it.
He says, it makes more sense to analyze Chopin, thank you, with a 6 diminished scale instead of figured bass.
I know that quote. I also have that quote.
I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think figured bass makes sense either. But like, the 6, that's not even like
it's a collection of 7 notes, like or 8 notes or whatever. Yeah. It doesn't describe anything of Chopin at all. Yeah. And like people do analyze Chopin via jazz harmony. It happens.
That makes
and it makes a lot of sense, and way more sense than actually analyzing it from a 18th century European music from standpoint, right?
Yeah.
And people do it all the time. And
some people even make like jazz versions of classical tunes.
Oh God,
that's always really embarrassing.
You guys, he's making fun of me. He's making fun of me. Fuck you. No, so it makes a lot of sense to analyze these pieces, and much more so even going farther, Debussy, to analyze him Ravel via jazz harmony instead of traditional harmony.
Right,
and no one does analyze Chopin or Debussy via traditional harmony, right? No one.
You can't actually. Like, really,
yeah, you can with Chopin.
Yeah,
because his music's still pretty logical in that sense, but it's just. People have been doing this, and he's saying that no one does it, and it's fucking annoying because it happens all the time. And it just, what experience does he have in music life? I wonder.
That's my question too. I mean, like, again, respect the hustle, but like, there's no way that this dude is where he's at. Like, going to Berkeley, plays in all these bands, won jazz awards. Yeah. There's no fucking way he like thinks this is a thing that people like experience.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I guess it's all part of his hustle. For this video.
Yeah.
It's hard to hate on the hustle, except it's really fucking annoying. Yeah, so that was funny. We have the same 2 first notes about the section. I have one that you probably don't have on here.
Oh, yeah.
I really liked that Russian woman.
That was
music
cool.
Theory, expression parameters. And it's a concept that Schoenberg brings up in a couple of his books in a less codified way, in a less strict way. Is, the idea that certain entire articulations and dynamics and things of that nature are consonant or dissonant.
Right.
These are things that are brought up later by other people, but to have it like as strict as that was really cool. And I really enjoyed that section.
That was cool. And then again, it's the same thing. It's like, here's a tool.
Yes.
And it's not like, you can write a book about this idea, but you can't like write a whole theory based of analyzing all Western music or whatever genre you happen to be writing for. And I guess that's the other thing. It's like, we try to use this theory to analyze all music, as he says. I don't know if that's so accurate these days.
I don't think it's possible either.
It's not possible, and I don't know, like...
Who does
that?
No one does it. No one sits down with fucking figured bass and analyzes Deadmau5. No one does it.
Yeah, like we said, like the triadic harmony, sure, that's still the basis, at least in our world. I wouldn't, like, go to, like, an Indian... school and be like, so where are the chords at?
Where are the chords at? Exactly. I was, listening to, a bunch of more Arabic pop. You know, you hear much less chords, and like Arabic jazz and that one sweet album from ECM Records with Steve Swallow on it from Rabi Abu Khalil. Like, it's very much more melodic based, and there's no real jazz chords on that whole album. And I didn't sit there fucking going down to town with my staff paper trying to go in there with, this is 2 minor 7 flat. The melody really implies a 2 minor 7 flat 5.
Yes. And then I think about these like fucking weirdos on r/music theory who do that kind of shit a lot.
I guess.
So I guess these people are out there and they're on our websites. And
they're on our websites. They're with your children.
I mean, I do see that a lot. Like, I mean, this is like a very specific instances, but someone will maybe post something that's not traditionally Western based or something. And there will always be that one guy who's like, well, to me, that sounds like the Neapolitan 6 chord. Like that kind of shit.
Yeah.
But that guy's just a loser, and no one likes him. I doubt he actually makes good music, and anyone listens to him anyway. So,
exactly.
I bet he loves Adam Neely.
Oh, man. I don't want to say anything about Adam Neely. I know nothing about him, but it feels like he's won all these awards and has a million shit zillion subscribers. But it's like, does this man gig?
He must. Or maybe not.
I mean, I've heard him play bass, and he can rip on fusion, but like, I don't know. I don't know who he's talking to this whole video.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
Although I will say, like, we've now seen this video posted among various forums. Like I saw it on the Gear page posted.
Yeah, it's all
on
over
Reddit.
Facebook right now. Yeah.
Jesus, that's why I'm so glad I don't like become friends with musicians.
I know. You should really avoid it.
God, the only other note I have for part 3 is God, he is so annoying. I think this is when I was starting to lose it a little.
Yeah. I have no shit. Music is not universal. No fucking shit. And that's actually part of this because he advocates for like a more inclusive description of music theory in general, but like you have to have it segmented because music is so different between cultures, between histories, between different types of theories, even in our paradigm.
Oh yeah.
It's so complicated that I don't think there is a way to have everything under one giant umbrella,
way.
and it shouldn't be because that would be, you know, decluding. What's the word I'm looking for there? It would be excluding more intricate details of other cultures, even our own, and like having everything under one roof is not a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking about earlier, the idea of this theory book having examples of all sorts of different stuff, you know, if
You can do
applicable.
that. Yeah.
But that's the key there. Like, if I am studying, like, I don't know, a like sonata form,
Okay.
like, I probably can't pull some examples from Indian classical music.
Probably,
you know,
probably
like,
not.
we can do more than Mozart, I'm sure. But you know, so like it depends. It'd be great, but like you said, like or the Berkeley class where it's like you're really studying this specific thing. It'd be great if we could open that up more if it is predominantly white or whatever. But like, yeah, there's no way. It's got to have the genres, so to speak.
Yeah, there's no way. It has to be differentiated at some point because everything is so different, and that's so cool. And that's it's kind of heartwarming to know that music is so different and so cool in every part of the world. I know, I'm turning into a douche. Okay.
Jake Neely over here.
Jake Neely. Jake Seeley. Oh my God. All right, we're moving on to part 4.
My first note, Ben Shapiro. Yikes. I mean, I love making fun of Ben Shapiro as much as anyone else.
I mean, the whole WAP thing was possibly the greatest moment of my life when he self-owned himself and talking about how his wife...
It's hilarious. The fact that he put Ben Shapiro in this video, though, like, I get it. It's like, he's fun to make fun of.
Yeah, he's fun to make fun of, and his attitude, I think, is more of his point. His attitude may prevail among certain types of people.
Sure.
My music theorist father,
who went to music school.
Yeah, it was like, oh my God. Therefore, that makes your opinion good.
Oh
But
my
I know,
God,
we all hate Ben Shapiro. He's a fucking idiot.
Oh man.
Ben Shapiro graduated top of his class at Harvard too, and he's still a fucking idiot. How does that work?
Well, you see, Harvard is based on the 18th century.
Oh no.
Probably true though.
I mean, it could be. I don't fucking know. Ben Shapiro's an idiot. The fact that I can live with him putting in this video, actually, I kind of liked it. I think it works more towards demonstrating like that this kind of attitude could be somewhat prevalent among certain groups of people.
Yes.
And for that reason, I'm okay with it. And it made me laugh. And I hate Ben Shapiro.
I know. It's just YouTube pisses me off. YouTubers piss me
you
off.
have to do
It's
it.
like that
Yep.
kind of thing.
That's
I'm
what,
just
it's
like,
something you have to do. Yeah.
Ben Shapiro's an idiot though.
Yeah. It's something you can use in your video to kind of bring more people in. He's like, he totally burns Ben Shapiro too. Lol.
Right. But that concept, I mean, why he brought Ben Shapiro up is like the whole like rap isn't real music thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely heard people say that.
Yeah,
And-
I've heard I have racist relatives that say that.
Yeah. But, you know, that's just racism. That's not necessarily music.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a different motivation, which I guess is partially his point too.
Yes. It's
Well,
so
actually,
ingrained.
it's probably a big point of his
Yeah,
point,
it's so ingrained in our white
psyche.
Yeah.
Our not white guilt. Yeah. Or just our white history.
The systematic racism.
Systematic
of our country.
racism. Yeah, which is, partially true.
Yeah.
More than partially, but even so, Ben Shapiro's annoying. We all hate him. But for this part, I have down, it's interesting that he started out with Pythagoras as the root of all Western music. And honestly, I don't know enough about history to discount that.
Literally, all I know about that is from that fucking Donald Duck cartoon that he showed. 'Cause
I know.
watched
I
that
saw that
in
too.
high school.
It's like, that shit's awesome. Yeah. But, so I thought that was interesting. and I don't know more about that, and it's something that I kind of want to look into now. I mean, I'm familiar with Pythagorean tuning, the math it's based off of, but I kind of liked this. What did he call it? Quadrivium.
Oh yeah, that was kind of
concept
cool.
that Pythagoras started out, and kind of made me want to read more into it because it was cool.
Well, you are white, Jake, so
That's right. I don't know anything about other types of music because of that.
Have you heard of Indian music?
It's so fucking annoying. All right, I have him writing down stuff about Babbitt and Benjamin Boris.
Oh yeah.
And he had this thing from Benjamin Boris where Benjamin Boris tried to do proof logically music theory.
Yeah.
And there was this little Adam Neely quote in there that makes me hate him again.
Oh, here we go.
It's just the little douchey Adam Neely moments. It's like Benjamin Boris tried to proof music with formal logic to make it more objective. Not sure if he succeeded, but I guess it looks impressive.
Hee-ha.
Yeah. So it's just fucking annoying.
I was thinking a lot during this part. I didn't write anything down about this, but our episode about the music being objective, and it's like, okay, here's some guys trying to prove what is a factual, like, musical thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was kind of interesting to me. But the thing that really I thought was interesting was, again, he didn't really go that into it.
I know. That's the whole... He will never go far enough into the actual racism.
These parts about where they're like, oh, so this such and such song used this concept, genius writing.
Oh, yeah. Bad romance using the leading tone.
and
Yeah.
like, yo, man,
that is fucking annoying. Whenever I see those articles from like Mother Jones or Salon, it does make me want to stick a knife into my heart.
I just get confused because it's like, obviously not people, but not musicians write those. Like, it's...
Yeah,
I don't
who's
know.
responsible? It's the person who took high school band
Maybe.
and like ended up writing for some clickbait website. And it's just... Their arguments make no sense, and he's totally right for putting these in this article, but it doesn't really connect with the racism that much.
I don't think so. I mean, because I do really appreciate it when you're like, okay, not the Lady Gaga example, because like, oh my God, she used the dominant of the minor chord.
Do you know how many pop songs, super duper pop songs, do that?
Yeah.
Like ultra pop still does. Anyway,
but like,
fucking annoying.
when I teach a lot of stuff, times, like talk about theory, and again, like triadic harmony, more or less, and then I'll get more into more, not even advanced, but just other ideas.
Yeah, straight to George Russell. Yeah,
obviously. So major chord is 1, 3, 5.
Yeah.
Then if you Lydian it, though.
Oh my God! It becomes the entire basis for our. No,
well, you see,
we're not hating.
That's a vertical.
That's right. That's right. The horizontal. No, actually, we're not hating on George Russell. We love George Russell.
Yeah.
Man,
come on the show, George.
Dude, I would have George. Oh, that's right. I didn't even know he was dead. You'd have to tell me. I didn't know that.
I think he's dead.
But regardless, we don't hate George Russell. We just like making fun of the Lydian chromatic.
Oh, okay. Anyway, my point being, when I do teach, I often go to like the Beatles or the Beach Boys or something.
Sure.
And I mean, I think these bands are genius in many ways. I don't think they're genius because they use kind of cool chord progressions. I just think it's cool that they use cool chord progressions.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, well, I mean, that's not even based on like 18th century music. It's some of it is, and some of it's just like jazz or roots,
well, it's
kind of, you know,
almost as if it's a conglomeration of these things.
Yeah,
and that's what culture is.
I think we can appreciate that bands can do that, though. I mean, to me, that I find that interesting. If I see a chord progression, if someone was just like, here's this Beatles chord progression, I had no idea what it was, I wouldn't be like, this guy is genius.
Right. You look at it and be like, okay, these are patterns.
Yeah, yep. I'm like, this is cool.
Yeah,
I like this.
This is logical. It flows.
Yeah.
Cool.
I like it. So yeah, these racist motherfuckers.
Yeah. No. I think where you're going, though, is that the reason these bands are genius is not because their chord progressions are so interesting or blah, 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 and all these things. It's because they combine it with these production techniques that are so new and, like, at the time, and so, like, interesting. Brian Wilson's whole, experimentation with weird sounds.
I mean, it is all, like, very contextual. It's like, this is one piece of that cog that makes the song really good.
Yeah.
And so it is ridiculous that we are, or whoever he's talking about is sitting there, not even, like, putting it into any context. It's literally like, here is a sheet of paper with dots on it. You can see does this chord, this chord, this chord. That really doesn't tell you anything.
Yeah.
Like,
the dots on the page are so, for anything besides, I guess, 18th century European music, doesn't tell you nearly enough about the composition. And that's why you and I on this show often complain a lot about charts we get.
That is true.
Because charts will show us like these little tiny things, and then neglect the greater details of what's actually going on. Like, for instance, I'll get a chart with like chords and a melody on it, but we'll say nothing about tempo.
Sure.
Or feel, or things like that.
Dynamics, articulations.
Any of those things.
Yeah,
None of those things are stated.
Yeah, and sometimes that's the point. You want that to be more open, but like,
oftentimes
again,
it's not,
context.
You need to be able to identify, if you're making a chart for someone, the proper context to give them and the most important things of the piece of music you're writing for. And this is something that is not talked about in this video very much, and it's annoying, is the limitations and non-limitations of written music in our style.
Did you have anything else for that?
I have a lot of good stuff. This is actually...
Wow. You were like going all out for the Ben Shapiro, right?
So this is actually my favorite section of the whole video.
Really?
Based on, I guess, this Robin James quote here is, the practice that naturalizes the common sense intuition of the most privileged members of society is objective knowledge. So this section, section 4 here, is where he goes the closest he gets to actually making arguments that music theory is based on a racist system of white hierarchy, you know what I mean, white superiority, ethnocentrism. And it still doesn't go far enough. And that's the video I would really like to see. So, but that's why I kind of like this section the most, is because it got the closest.
Right. Yeah, I think...
He like tried to turn the Bach chorale thing on itself, you know, where Ben Shapiro was doing the rap. Instead, imagine if Ben Shapiro was saying that Bach chorale, blah, blah, blah.
I do hate how he delivers that, though.
I know.
Kind of ridiculous if you think about it.
Oh my God.
You're just like, kill yourself, my guy.
Yeah, he's got a very frustrating flow to his sentences.
Actually, I think, I wrote eye roll as one of my notes, and I think it was when he said that.
Yeah, it's an eye roll. But like this section I really like in terms of getting close to the actual argument I would like to listen to from this episode. Because the rest of this just doesn't feel right.
It doesn't. Yeah, I mean, I think when we'll get to the next section, we'll have more of this. But like, it starts out with his intro, clickbaity shit.
Yeah.
And, okay, starts out part 1, kind of talking about institutional racism and music theory. And you're like, cool. And then it's like, okay, now we're going to just talk about a bunch of different music.
Yeah, going fucking off to India now. Yeah.
You've never heard about this before.
Stop saying that. It's fucking pissing me off.
And does that for like 2 or 3, and he's like, music's different. And now it's like, okay, now we're kind of back at the original point.
Yeah.
I guess we took that detour just so we could learn there was something
else
in the world. I don't...
I think I just phrased it right in my brain. This is a video that is for entertainment purposes coming across as a video for educational purposes. So that's why I don't think it works, is because he's trying to come across in a way that is, you know, this is the facts behind this, but this video is clearly just made for entertainment because it's not structured rigorously enough.
It's not
to be considered a valued piece of education.
I literally saw
contribution.
Yeah, I saw one YouTube comment, and I know YouTube comments. But if someone wrote, he should add like 10 more minutes to this, and they should air it on PBS. And I'm like,
this is not good enough. It just needs way more. And I don't know. So I guess that it just kind of clicked for me just now. I kind of liked how I turned that on it. But that's all I really have for this section.
That's fine. We can go on to part 6.
Part 5.
Part 5, I mean. And so this is where it really jumps for me to like, okay, now we're just talking specifically about some really racist shit.
Yes. And this is this is an example he's trying to use to blanket cover a bunch of fucking...
Yeah.
And this is where that quote comes in that I quoted earlier from him. He's like, all you people getting a graduate degree in music theory, all 10 of you. And I'm like, yes, that's it. Only those people care about Heinrich Schenker. Also, he mispronounces Heinrich the entire video. He says Henrik or something like that. I'm like, either he knows something I don't, which is possible, but I'm pretty sure everyone pronounces it Heinrich.
I don't know.
But it doesn't matter. So we're not going to go into the biography of Heinrich Schenker at all.
Right. So, I mean, actually, all I wrote down for this was yikes. Because it's like, oh, this is some racist ass shit.
No, Heinrich Schenker he was a racist. He lived in Germany in the, the 10s through 40s.
But he was a Jew. Self-hating.
Self-hating Jew.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I've not studied Schenkerian analysis. I know the term. I know the basic concept of what it's used for.
Yeah.
Not relevant to my life in any way, so I never actually looked at it.
Or anyone's. It's a fun... Okay, I've studied a little bit of Schenkerian analysis, and just like in private lessons and such. And it's not useful. You don't derive really any meaningful conclusions from it, except for the process you do it with, which is the idea behind it, I think, is the idea of reduction.
Sure.
So you're trying to reduce it down to its most basic elements, and the process of getting to the meme ass 3 blind mice post is more important than the actual result you end up in.
Yeah, because that concept, I mean, that was explained to me by my guitar teacher, not in through this like Schenkerian analysis thing. He basically was like, music is really just tension and release.
Yes.
That's all it comes down to at the end of the day.
Exactly.
And there's all this shit you can fit into that. But at the end of it, it's like you need something to happen for people to actually like respond to this.
Yeah. And that's, you can blanket that across a bunch of different art forms as well. Almost every art form is tension and release because that's what, I guess, biologically humans are respond to in some way. And this doesn't just cover Western 18th century European musicians, right? Tension and release is in every single culture in the history of kind.
Yes.
And yeah, so Schenkerian analysis is, maybe it's derived from racist roots, but it is interesting in its own way for the music that it's for.
Exactly. So again, this is like separating the artist from the art sort of thing.
Sure.
This man specifically sat down to analyze German 18th century music.
Yeah.
And did a good job at that, I assume.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know if it even is a good job, but it's so rigorous because I don't know enough about it, honestly.
Sure.
But it's so rigorous and complete, and every angle of approach possible is like codified in his language that it's like you kind of just have to fucking give it up, man. The dude just did a lot of work being racist.
Right. And then, but then I guess the problem is like, okay, this is what we are basing our music theory off of.
And actually, and that's what I didn't know before. I didn't realize that in these 4 words, this textbook he brought up in this part, and that they're specifically referencing, like, this is a prequel to Schenkerian analysis, and figured bass is as well. So at the beginning of all these textbooks, I think he just mentioned too, that this is actually what people are basing their entire tonal harmony system off of. And that is like, yes. That's
fucked up.
That's fucked up and stupid.
Yeah.
Dumb as fuck. And not useful. But at the same time, it's just like, it's a little bit of a jump into left field, this whole section.
It really does just come out and like, if he like restructured this video, I think...
That's what I'm saying. If it was more rigorously structured as an educational video, maybe hire
like, again, it's like 2 or 3 different things going on here.
Sure.
Like,
maybe part 1, part 2, part 3 or something.
Like, I don't know.
Like the whole section on Indian music should be like a footnote video.
Totally.
And that would be awesome.
Or he could even do like a series like, you know, different music around the world, like highlighting maybe YouTubers that are teaching like she does or something like that.
Yeah. And that's something I would personally be very interested in.
Oh, I'm sure. And then also like kind of framing it as like, okay, as Western musicians, not ones that necessarily only study 18th century European music, but just, you know, people like you and me. It'd be cool to be like, okay, here's this guy in like South Africa who like does a bunch of YouTube videos on drumming and stuff.
Exactly.
You know, like,
or whatever.
Yeah. Like that would be cool.
And that's stuff I do regularly try and find. I talk about it all the time on this podcast.
That leaping into Schenkerian analysis being racist is weird to me.
Yes.
Like,
yes. And by the way, Heinrich Schenker, racist.
Oh yeah. No, okay.
Very racist. This
in
example,
no way are we defending him. Like,
Schenker's a racist, but the fact that he's used as an example for all of white music to be racist, or music theory to be racist. This
is the only section, or no, this one and the next one.
And the next one, yeah.
But it's the only section that's entirely devoted to one individual.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, all these other ones we have all these like, oh, this person is,
huge amounts of,
and this one's like, this guy's really fucking racist. And like, you know, that could be a video on its own even. Like, I don't know how long it would be.
Video,
like, but it'd be like,
another footnote video.
Or give him with a bunch of other people like, so these guys were fucking racist pieces of shit, and
and
they've structured like the classical music theory, like
that no one actually,
but you know what I mean. Like that was the video. We didn't have the whole Indian thing at the beginning. And
you know, that's what I was. Again, I'll go back to it. This is not rigorously structured for education. This is for entertainment.
Yeah.
So, as long as people actually know that, which they don't, then it would be fine with me. But you know for a fucking fact that everyone on r/music theory and Reddit, or like in, college circles of little kids, 19-year-olds learning music theory for the first time, whatever, are taking this as some sort of gospel. And I can hear it in my brain already. It's like, when you put your ear up to a seashell, you can kind of hear the ocean. I can hear through Adam Neely's video, put it up to my ear, thousands of college students around the world.
Oh my God. Just being like,
music theory is just a white tool for blah, blah,
blah.
Which,
and I know he did say, he interviewed Dr. Yule like a year ago.
Yeah.
So it's not like, I don't think he's like hopping on a trend right now, which is shitty to say, but there is somewhat of a trend of being like, oh, we are supporting like Black lives and things, you know.
Yeah.
Like companies are definitely hopping on a bit of a bandwagon
Yeah,
here.
it's really annoying to see them come so late in the game, dude. It's like,
Yeah,
welcome to the party. It's cool now.
So it's like, I can't say he's like hopping on the trend, but it's just sort of like, yeah, like perfect timing, like, hey, you know, like.
I mean, he did interview Phil Ewell a long time ago, which is cool. And Phil Ewell has a lot of good stuff to say, which we're going to get into in a little bit here. But it's just the timing is too weird and like.
Unless
Fired
Adam
up.
Neely knew this was all going to happen.
Are we getting some Illuminati shit right now?
The Music Illuminati.
Music Illuminati. Isn't that like a band or something? Pretty sure Illuminati's like a band or something.
Probably.
But regardless,
Could it be? Could be.
this section is fucking weird. This is not what music theory really represents to anyone. This is like academia, like specific ivory tower people. And
Sure.
let's talk about, because he shows a clip earlier from Deadmau5 being like, you know, do you consider yourself a tech guy or a theory guy? He's like, I'm a tech guy. And this is what most popular music is now.
Yeah.
Most music even.
You think they're looking at fucking Shankarian analysis on the Katy Perry song?
I don't even know if they get to triadic harmony sometimes. And it's fine, because there's so much more to music than just triadic harmony or Western music theory. And people know that. That's why they're not doing it. But like, if you go to like a hip hop producer's studio and you start trying to talk to them about music, the language they'll use will be much, much different. It'll be like things like, I put this little sample in here because I really think this... it really needed some separation between this frequency and like this hook that's 2000 frequency or 2000 hertz higher, and we just need a little bit of separation for the voice to be right in the middle. And it's all these things that are not codified in this language, but people are using now, and people do not actually practice this that much anymore.
I guess, yeah, unless you're like that grad student or whatever he's talking about. And even that, like, yeah, you probably have to know about it, but I don't know. Like, it's like, is it informing your entire outlook on music?
Yeah, like who's this for?
I don't know.
Who's Adam Neely appealing to? Someone comment, please.
Yeah, I mean, like, the video, again, we'll talk about it at the end, I guess, but like, could it just be like, hey, music theory has this history of sort of white supremacism and like looking at all these examples.
Yeah,
like,
and then throw in the Schenker and then,
just being like, this happened. So like, you know, take what you're learning, grain of salt, like, know that this is going.
And you know who says that almost exactly? Part 6. Phil Ewell. Phil Ewell uses that quote you almost said exactly. Basically, like, this is all great. I would never forget the compositions of Schubert.
Yeah.
I like a lot of his music. He says a lot of other things very similar to that. I figured bass is a big part of my life. As a cello player, I play continuo, right? So people should learn from these things, and you can. And then acknowledging that white supremacy is a part of Western music theory is awesome.
Exactly.
And I wish this video went a little harder on it.
That's really it. Like, why couldn't that have been the video?
I know. Instead of, because it is, according to the title, but it's just like, and they never go far enough. And like the Schenker thing, like tries, but it's so hyper specific and non-important.
Right.
That it doesn't matter.
I mean, and then like this part 6 too, like, music is really racist. I wrote more yikes. This shit is crazy. Like, again, it seems like it should be a different video because it's mostly about the fucking UNT, which of course Texas.
I know
responding to Ewell's speech and writings, and it's like, okay, yeah, these guys are racist pieces of shit.
I think in one of those quotes, and maybe this is from that Bad Romance article, I can't remember which one, but I think in one of those Texas quotes, it was like, the quality of this just goes to demonstrate the supremacy of the Western harmony.
It's like, whoa. Or it says something about, it's like, bringing the black man up to be able to compete.
I was like, what?
It's rough.
And a whole video of that.
Or like, I mean, who knows? Maybe his original plan was to, do like, here's a video on Dr. Ewell, and
I mean, it seems that way,
and then, throwing all this other shit. Because, like, again, it's like, okay, we talked about all the other styles of music in the world. Ben Shapiro was there. Schenker's racist. These guys at college are racist. And it's like, but I guess maybe, I will say, I guess this is where you're getting that fucking racist learnings is at UNT.
Oh, I guess, yeah, exactly. You're pulling all from, like, the southern states. I don't want to loop them all in because UNT is the only example, but, like...
Yeah. I mean...
Southern people have been racist. I
don't know. I mean,
we've all been racist.
I mean, but that is known as a like pretty high level music school.
Yeah, UNT's quite well known.
So I mean, maybe that is like the curriculum over there. Maybe it is entirely like.
Maybe. It's possible. And I guess we just don't know enough about that.
Yeah.
But based on this video, neither does Adam Neely. And I bet you Adam Neely actually knows more, but just doesn't know how to structure a video.
Maybe, again, could that have been the video? Like, here's Shanker, here's all the racist people, here's the curriculum of UNT.
Yeah.
Like,
Specific.
and then you could be
no,
like, oh, and by the way, this doctor gave this speech about this, and then all these fucking professors came back and were like, hey, we're racist assholes.
Well, now that you say it this way, though, it actually is the video, but it's so diluted with extra examples that don't make any sense in relation to this core of this video. So it's just frustrating to have this video be so diluted because there is good information here. And like this whole section.
Most of it is good information.
Yeah.
It's really just the structure.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
I guess that's true, huh?
Yeah.
And also, another brief problem is that I hate Adam Neely's condescension. And that's one more thing that he says in this one is that, I'm willing to bet that before this video, you never even heard the name Shanker. I'm just like, dude, why are you even throwing that in there?
Like, I don't know shit about
Like,
that,
actually
but I know.
Yeah.
Like, I know
and that actually directly contradicts your whole purpose of your video.
Actually.
It's like,
wait a second.
yeah. By saying
do
that,
I learn the racist music or do I not know the racist music? I don't know.
Well, maybe it's so ingrained that you don't need to.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe that is
That is
part
possible,
of the point.
yeah.
Yeah, that's like.
But like, it just comes across as condescending, and it's possible we're misinterpreting because maybe it is him saying that this is so deeply ingrained in the structure format of all learning of Western music, the European 18th century musicians, that it's not really able to come to the forefront in everyone's mind anymore because it's so deep back there. But it just doesn't work.
No, I mean, yeah, I guess that's about all I got to say. I know we got like one more section, the coda.
Well, it's just
like,
the coda, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. This is a note on only on the fucking titles of each section. There's another part about Adam Neely. It's fucking annoying. Is the meme ass sections? These one of part 1, part 2 minor, part 2 minor 7 flat 5. Do you get it? And then like 4, and then 5 is like an altered scale thing. And it's like, oh,
7 was diminished.
No, get out.
So I think my big takeaway from this video is just that I really hate Adam Neely. I hate music YouTubers in general for the most part. Don't think it's entirely their fault. But like, man, that video could have been more.
It could have been great.
And I don't think you and I could make that video. I don't think we know nearly enough about that.
And it seems like Adam Neely, through his connections too, knows a lot.
Yeah.
And it could have been amazing.
Well, I was thinking about it too, like when I was first watching it, like if we were to maybe do an episode on just like the subject of like racism and music theory, it's like, I have like people I know that could come on and like we could actually do that.
Totally.
Again, like I don't know enough. Like there's no way I can do that.
You and I come from positions of privilege.
Yeah, exactly.
We're white people. We got to go to music college, whatever. And that's a perspective we are not going to be able to rectify in any reasonable amount of time. Adam Neely had the tools. He had it all. And just diluted this fucking video. And it's so sad because there's such great things in here.
It comes off as super cheap and bandwagony and like...
cheap again. I'm going to say this one more time. This is not educational. This is entertainment. The structure is not rigorous enough or thoroughly thought out to make it an educational video.
For real, and like for a guy who keeps being like, I bet you never heard of this today, I'm like, I don't think I learned anything from this, really.
Yeah.
I learned these UNT guys are hella racist. I learned about Dr. Yule, he's cool.
Yeah, I learned about figure bass and Shanker being like, the root for our racist textbooks. Sure.
Right. But again, like, why couldn't that have been a whole video, like getting deep into like these racist textbooks?
That's the footnote I have at the bottom of my page of notes here, is that this could have been.
What it could have been.
This could have been amazing. This could have been the thing that turned around a lot of like music theory forever. And it still could be, honestly.
It could. I mean, like, you know what?
This could be the start of a conversation.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like Adam fucking Neely. He's just a dude. He has a YouTube channel. It's not really his job to go and like make this. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. Like maybe this does start a discussion.
And that would be great.
Maybe it does. I don't know.
And then good for Adam Neely then for taking this issue, because it is a hard issue for a white person like himself to discuss.
Yeah.
Like I know we've been thinking about floating around a topic with racism in music and all that, but we're just like, dude, that's fucking scary.
Yeah. No, so props to him for actually like doing something. I'm serious. He's got an audience and he's doing something. He's opening up at least a conversation, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. YouTube sucks. I mean, like it really is like for me. This like
Hi,
whole,
YouTube.
the whole that's really like my biggest thing with this is just like just the system that we have here for YouTube and musicians in general, and like the fact that these kind of discussions have to be clickbaity. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's annoying. It could have been. This video could have been great.
Right. It could have been.
great.
It could have been, but you know what? Maybe if he made it that way, no one would have watched it.
That might be true. So who knows what's actually right?
I do
in
know
that
he
sense.
annoys the hell out of me.
Yeah,
Like,
he's got a super douchey vibe.
oh man,
Yeah.
that guy just like really pisses me off. I don't. There's something about him, man.
I know. It's just he's got a little bit of a punchable face for me. I don't know what it is.
He's got a little like smugness in it.
Yeah, exactly. He's got like the
it's
eyebrow raise and like the yeah.
India has music. Did you know that?
God, that's so fucking annoying. Okay, so the takeaways again: music needs new codified language to describe it in many formats.
Yeah, can we talk about that for a second?
Sure.
'Cause we kind of talked about this the other day too. There are probably like modern music theory textbooks coming out that try to do these kind of things. And again, like we were saying, they have to be somewhat specific because we're past the point where one textbook
There's no
can, like,
there's no
explain-
umbrella.
Yeah,
There's no umbrella anymore.
But you know, I mean, even at Cornish, you know, like our jazz textbook was written by a professor there, and I don't remember when he wrote that originally.
I'd say it was like 87 or 88.
Sure,
yeah.
something like that. So it's not even that old, and like already that's like
Outdated.
it is outdated. And so these things keep changing. It's like, do we need the textbooks anymore?
Maybe not.
Like,
Maybe you need it for like the basics of, you know,
Right.
this maybe you need the foundations of functional tonal harmony.
Sure.
And I think to study jazz you do.
right?
And like to study a lot of music of our tradition, you do need these basics.
You do, and that's the thing, though. It's like you can't have a book that's going to cover the basics all the way up to using microtones.
Yeah.
And you're composing or something.
Or
like,
even going the other way, like going all the way to modern EDM.
sure, yeah. And so it's like, I mean, again, it's been what, like, how many years since we graduated? Like 10 years now or something?
Yeah, it's been 7, but yeah.
You know, I'm sure they're still using the same fucking book, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, like, yeah, I think that, you know, the Jazz 3 book, I think it's a good book. Like, there's good information in that. But there's also a lot of shit missing in it that you have to learn from perhaps teachers or things like that. Or
self-exploration.
self-exploration, exactly.
Yeah. So, and I guess through that this point, my takeaway here is that this video is 2 videos, exactly 2. One is the racism that I wish was explored way more heavily than it is. And the other one is this concept that music needs new language or doesn't. But just in general, what we have isn't sufficient to describe music of all types.
Exactly. And yeah, you're not... Yeah,
Those are 2 videos that are in this video,
Right.
and they're being conflated in wrong ways, and it results in him saying things like, you know, I bet you didn't know who Schenker was, when it deliberately like takes away from his point. It's things like that.
Yeah, like we were saying, there's like, we can't have this umbrella term for theory anymore, but that's not even like, maybe I just want to explore Barry Harris's concept.
Yeah.
I'm not going to analyze Beethoven with the Barry Harris
You're not gonna-
seventh diminished, whatever the fuck
yeah,
it
the
is.
fucking bebop scale.
Yeah, like, no, that's not going to happen. But maybe I want to use that idea in a solo or a composition or something.
Yeah, in a
like,
composition
and then
or
I'll
whatever.
read his like book or essays or whatever. Like, so we can maybe have all these smaller texts or, you know, delving into like, you know, this particular like
Yeah, how about-
90s jazz fusion and what the fuck they were doing there, you know, something
Or
like that.
there's an old concept called a treatise, or like
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah.
or a treatise. Sorry,
Yeah.
something like that. Like you should have several treatises on separate subjects. That's what the original, you know, Fuchs counterpoint was.
Right,
It was
and I
like
guess-
100 pages.
And this
of
gets
this
into the problem
concept.
with like academia because how do you
economically-
how do you structure a class around
Yeah.
that idea?
and also,
It's
how
like-
do you sell textbooks?
right? But to me, like if you're at a place studying music and paying God knows how much to study this music,
Yeah,
I feel like you should be able to like learn these things.
absolutely.
Like why or like yes, to an extent we should all have a common base knowledge, but like after the fact, like when Broodresh came and taught that ensemble, a lot of times like we had like 3-hour sessions with him once a month.
Yeah.
He spent like an hour going over like theory stuff with us and like just him on the chalkboard, like making like notes and shit. And it was stuff from like Indian classical music to like Bartok and all sorts of shit like thrown in between. And like to me, I'm like, that was like, I learned almost way more from that one class than I did all the other fucking theory classes I took at Cornish.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally. it's
It's
just
lacking.
a weird.
It's very lacking, I guess.
Yeah, and yeah, so that's part of his video, which is fine. And I just wish that the video was more true to itself, because it's two separate videos that each deserve a topic, one more than the other, in my opinion. I really, really wish that the nuggets of information we got about the history of racism and white supremacy and ethnocentrism and the culture of our music theory learning was way more heavily explored than it was, and that would have been the sickest, nastiest video.
If he just like, it's like, I'm calling everyone out right now. Here's my guy, Yule.
Yeah, here's my.
We're just like,
we're gonna
get fucked, racist. Let's go.
Fuck you, UNT. We're going to town on you. So shit, that would have been great. But instead, we're left with this, I guess, work of entertainment, and I don't really know if I can call it more than that.
Yeah, it like simultaneously feels too short and too long.
I know.
Yeah,
I was about to say, it's like, this video should be like 15 minutes shorter, but it's like, yeah, but it actually should be 30 minutes longer.
Yeah.
So it's a very confusing video on multiple fronts. And it's just annoying because I know this is going to be the new
Right.
trend.
It was like his whole fucking like 8 levels of jazz harmony.
Yeah,
shit.
that was the most annoying fucking video. And like inaccurate. And
Yeah,
like,
it really was.
And
like,
sounded like ass.
I mean, like, whatever. It's like he's using just like fucking MIDI, whatever.
Sure.
Like, I get it, but like, yeah, that was just.
Well,
like,
I just mean like even the examples realized are just.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, that's the thing. It's like that concept could have been done way. Maybe that's Adam Neely's thing.
Concepts that can be done way better than he can do it. He just starts conversations. Really.
I mean, I guess more power to him then.
Guess so. I think that's pretty much does it for our review of Adam Neely's video.
What about part 8 from the bebop scale? Because there's 8 notes in the bebop scale.
Fucking octatonic motherfucker.
That's right.
But unlike, bad things like that, this is much more logically led at 7 notes per scale. No. So we're fucking done talking about this. Go make fun of us in the comments for being stupid or whatever. We're probably missing a whole bunch of shit. It's a complicated subject, and I don't know nearly enough about it. Ooh. And yeah, that's pretty much it for that.
Adam Neely sucks. That's all I gotta say.
Yep.
Probably it's like an hour of video could have been condensed down to that, but whatever.
Yeah, actually, we were having the same problem. Yeah. But that's pretty much it.
We're a different kind of show, okay?
That's true. We're real people, man. Talking about real life.
So what you been listening to lately?
Well, we go through this whole video talking about all this stuff and all blah, 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 and then I listen to a white group.
Hey, me too.
Hey! Fantastic.
To be fair, usually you have some like,
World,
Middle Eastern,
yeah.
Arab music, and I'm usually listening to like some crazy old free jazz. So
yeah,
it's very rare that we both listen to white people at the same time.
Yeah. Mine is one you're going to make fun of me for because I gave you so much shit back in the day. And you're just going to be like, you motherfucker. I listened to Third Eye Blind.
You motherfucker.
I see. No. So here's the thing. Some of the songs on that album, Third Eye Blind, are kind of trashy and like kind of bad. But something I didn't really give enough attention to or appreciate enough back when I've listened to it in my younger years.
Like 5 years ago.
Kind of. Like actually. Like 5 years ago. The production is kind of insane.
It's so good.
It's kind of beautiful.
It really took, like, for the listeners at home, I covered this entire album live with a band. But it really took me, like, learning all the parts. There was 2 guitar players, and we had, like, there's, like, probably, like, 5 guitars in every song.
Yeah, because there's new tunings.
It's all, like, it's fucking crazy. It really made me appreciate it.
I swear, on one of those songs, there's 4 different guitar parts at the same time.
Oh yeah, no, there was a lot of those in that album. Actually,
and it's
very layered.
Very layered, but like not dense.
Yeah,
they're panned appropriately. Obviously, they're mixed very well. But even just like in a stereoscopic image, like you never feel like the guitars are bombarding you. There's plenty of space for vocals, and the drums are fat.
That was a classic album.
Yeah,
very classic.
So I'm just surprised I liked it as much because the reason I did it is because I heard Jumper on the radio, and I'm like, wow, this sounds actually kind of good.
I mean, at its core, it's like 90s trash music. Like,
okay. Every progression is like exactly the same throughout the entire album.
Yeah, but he uses different tuning, so it sounds slightly different.
That's what I'm saying. It works.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're gonna make fun of me for the next 2 months is that I listened to this album.
No, that's a good album. I just like that album.
Nice. What have you been doing?
I've been listening to Lou Reed. Velvet Underground guy.
Oh, right. Thank you. Thank you.
Coney Island Baby, which I like it a lot. It's not my typical Lou Reed thing because he's usually like depressing and snarky. And this one he's very like wholesome. I don't want to say wholesome, but
like
he
a little bubbly.
he like has feelings that are not sad apparently. But it's cool. It's just like him, guitar, bass, and drums. Not really like any like classic songs on it in my opinion, but it's a nice. If you're a Lou Reed fan, it's like one of his better ones, and it's just a good album.
Nice. Got any rants for us?
Oh, do I?
Oh, fuck. Here we go. Okay. For those of you who are just joining us, we do a rant of the week every podcast episode where we describe things that are shitty about music life.
Which we haven't had a lot of things to say lately because we don't play shows because
COVID, yeah.
But my rant is when people say, I have really good taste in music.
I am now going to take an honorary drink for you because that is the worst sentence to ever hear.
Like, again, if you want to hear more of our like opinions on this, go back and listen to our Is Music Objective?
Yeah.
Our subjective episode.
I believe that episode title is music or like music is opinion based, but I don't want to hear that from you.
I was like, music is subjective, but your opinion still sucks.
Yeah, that's it. Music is subjective, but your opinion still sucks.
God damn it. Why can't we not talk today?
We can't talk. We're just so mad. Okay, so this person has good taste in music. Let's hear it.
Right. So like everyone thinks they have good taste in music. They like the music they like. They think the music they like is really good. That's like the whole point of everything. like there's not.
I don't know. I feel deep shame for liking some of the music I like.
Well, you know what? Oh yeah, and you know what? Yes, but
that's an appropriate emotion.
I was at this gathering the other night. We're at this guy's house, and he's like playing some music off YouTube, and it's like fine. It's like kind of just modern R&B shit.
Okay.
It's fine.
Soul-esque, like slower?
Yeah. And it was, totally fine. And then one of the other people there were like, oh, give me the remote. I want to put something on. And the dude was like...
Pass the aux cord.
Basically. Yeah. And the dude was like, you know what? I like never give any people the remote because like I don't trust other people. And I have really good taste in music. No. But you know what? She's got good taste in music too. So let's see what she's got.
Oh boy.
And I'm like...
I just hope she put
this is like some boring ass shit that we're listening to right now.
I just hope she put on some fucking 2 Live Crew, man.
I don't. It's like why do you have to frame it like that? Just be like, I like this. Let's listen to this, and I could be like, I like this. And at one point, he was even like, what do you want to play? And I'm like, honestly, like anything I want to play, you will not like. Like I'm not even saying
taste.
No, I'm not even saying that as sort of like I only like kind of stuff. But I'm like this vibe that's happening right now, this is not my thing, really.
You can't really contribute to it in the way they would want you.
Exactly. This is fine. I'm happy to be here listening to this, but like...
Quote, unquote, yeah.
But like, no, man, you don't have good taste in music. No one has good taste in music. No one really has bad taste in music. There's just music you like or don't like, and yes, except for Jake.
Except for me, yeah. Oh, man, I love Bon Jovi.
It just really pisses me off. Yeah. Anyway, you got a rap?
I do. It's much shorter and much less interesting. I watched a movie about a month ago called The Firm with Tom Cruise. And it's like I guess like a psychological thriller / heisty kind of movie. Yeah. So I was just struck the entire movie and I could not get over how fucking awful the soundtrack was. The entire OST is one dude at a piano.
Ugh.
And it's like, an action movie. And I'm not saying I want every single movie to be Hans Zimmer, giant percussion.
But he's the best film composer of all time.
Shut up. God damn it. So, the entire movie, some dude at a piano playing like the main, like, happier stuff is when he's playing just like blues or like some 8-bar cycle over and over. And then like the bad, scary stuff is like he's doing prepared piano stuff.
Yeah, of course.
And like he's sliding on the strings with a pick or like hitting the soundboard for percussive effects. And it's like, dude, you spent like all your money on Tom Cruise and you had no money left to hire musicians.
Couldn't even get the MIDI guy to come in.
Exactly.
Like,
well, I think this was like 92 or something. It's older, I forget. But the soundtrack just pissed me off.
Maybe I'm remembering wrong, but the game, isn't that just piano?
Yes, but the game is actually good.
Right, but I'm saying that movie's awesome.
Yeah.
But it's also like an action movie.
Yeah. So here's the difference in my mind. The Firm is much more, how do I put this? Like standard
Hollywood,
much more Hollywood. The game has a more of a vibe to it.
Yeah,
and also it's the processes they're doing for that composition in the game sound. I don't know if they are, but they sound more intricately developed. They're much more atonal serialist in nature, and that's why it works for me in the game. and it doesn't in the Firm, because the Firm is so standard and
I
shitty.
entirely agree. I just kind of interesting these blockbuster movies. I mean, I'd put the game as like maybe it's not like a super popular.
Yeah, but it's popular.
But like famous actors.
People like it. Michael
Huge
Douglas.
budget. Yeah, Michael Douglas, Sean Penn.
yeah.
Like, you know, like it's obviously like a high budget Hollywood movie as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting what you can get away with sometimes. Like,
yeah.
Because I think it is really effective in that movie. Or it's that one Clint Eastwood one where it's just guitar for the score.
It's one of his, like, newer movies.
Yeah, from like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Actually, I think Chuck was telling us because he's friends with the guy who played guitar on that. I forget the guitarist player's name, but apparently he went to Clint Eastwood's house and he's like, "Okay, I wrote the score," and he's like, "Okay, like we're looking for some music," and Clint just goes up to the piano and he goes, "Boom, ding, ding." Okay, just go do something like that. So he had to like do all this shit.
Yep.
And then it's like the movie starts. It's like music composed by Clint Eastwood.
I know. I fucking hate that shit, dude. And that's actually going to be a future episode, I think, is talk about the process of crediting in Hollywood, because I have a friend that will want to talk about that.
That's interesting.
And that'll be a fun one. But as far as that goes, that's pretty much ends my rant. Fuck that soundtrack. And the movie was like, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I actually, interestingly enough, read the book before I read that
really?
movie. And the book literally just reads like a fucking Hollywood script. Like, they made that book for the purposes of doing that. And it was still boring. Ugh. So that soundtrack sucks. That's it.
That's it. All right, well, I guess that was a lot of ranting. Yeah.
Subscribe to our channel, I guess. Music sucks and I
don't
want to
know.
die.
We're trying to get 1.2 mil.
Exactly. Get us more famous than Adam Neely, please.
That'll never happen.
That'll never happen. We're too much of assholes for that.
We're just too real.
Yeah, real people. Cheers, my dude. Yeah, malt liquor. Woo. This music sucks and I want to die. We're fucking done.